to another episode of the Career Growth Sessions podcast by Destiny Education, a career development and higher education consulting agency. I am your host, BJ Barango. In this episode, we are diving into the topic entrepreneurship in the digital age. And our guest is Dapo Onamusi, popularly known as Coach Dapo. He is a certified business coach and a sales and marketing consultant. He will give insights to aspiring entrepreneurs and social enterprise owners on leveraging technology and education to launch and scale their businesses. Also discuss strategies for innovation, market disruption, and sustainable growth in today's digital economy. Now, leading the conversation is the General Manager of Destiny Education, Amayanvbo Osarugue. So if you're looking to climb the career ladder and open up new possibilities, you are in the right place. Let's get started on today's episode.
We're going to move to Coach Dapo's session. So Coach Dapo is going to be taking us on entrepreneurship in the digital age. Yes, entrepreneurship in the digital age. So I'll just talk a bit on his bio and we'll just go right into it. So Coach Dapo is a certified business coach and a global business pathfinder and a business money maker. Yes, he is, his career experience spans over 2.5 decades. He has spent over 15 years with an advertising agency where he developed winning advertising campaign for both local and global brands, including PricewaterhouseCoopers, Coca-Cola, La Casera, Avon, and HMOs. So without further ado, let's welcome Coach Dapo. Coach Dapo, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you so much for
thank you so much for joining us today. And just like Ejobi said, he said, in his opening remark, he said, follow the money. And now we're about to talk about the money because you're the money man. So we're about to talk about the money. So I'll just dive right into the questions that I have for you today. My first question is to you is there a reliable way to assess the market potential of a business idea? Especially specifically, how can entrepreneurs determine if a business idea has a disruptive potential to, shake up the status quo and open possibilities for growth for them? So, hope you got the question.
Yeah, I did. And thank you so much for asking. Once again, I want to commend Joby for nailing it out of the park. I mean, that was a job very well done. And also for Ndabuisi for bringing your data analytics angle of things and everything you've done. I really appreciate the resource that you brought into the room. Without much ado, I would say pretty much most of the questions, even leaning to the one that you just asked, have been somewhat answered by Joby because we seem to have similar blood flowing in our veins, which is the blood that follows the money. Now, knowing where or how to find the kind of answer, the kind of idea that resonates with the market, I think oftentimes it's a case of a cart before the horse.
Mm.
Yeah, because oftentimes people start with an idea and they are now looking for where to test the idea. Mm. It should actually be the reverse. Rather than having your idea all cooked up in the kitchen and now looking for those who are hungry to feed, why don't you find those who are hungry and what their appetite is yearning for? Then you now create a solution that is fit for their appetite, because you can have an idea that is fantastic and beautiful, but it could be ahead of its time, or it could even be behind its time. You might just not be ready for the market that is on ground. Now, the how question, which is how do you test it, how do you know when people are ready for that idea? A very good way to look at it, of course, we're talking tech now, is to do a bit of forensics. What are people hungry for? It's going to be a whole lot of research. And Ejobi, once again, you've done a good job in nailing that aspect. Tech is not supposed to be for tech's sake. You use tech in business. And I'm glad that the DPA that Trident has offered you has opened your eyes to see things beyond your world of cybersecurity. And this applies to every other entrepreneur that is out there. You don't just live in your world of tech and not be looking for people to consume your service. But ask yourself, what are people looking for? And this also applies to Ndubisi. With all your experience in managing database and understanding Oracle, the whole series of Oracle. In fact, when you mentioned all that as well, I also went down memory lane and I was just smiling. But I'm asking myself, until it becomes relevant to the needs of people today, it might not be so much of a fantastic idea to them, because value is not defined by what you package. Value is defined by what the consumers want. So the best way to answer that question is to find out what exactly are people longing for. Ejobi has done a good job pitching his tent with cybersecurity, because the business of today is about managing information. And that is brilliant. That is fantastic. But it doesn't just stop there. You must ask yourself, what exactly are people managing? What information are they managing? Why are they managing that information? And to what end? Because that would also help you to know, beyond cybersecurity, what else can you do to support or respond to the needs of the people? I hope I'm making sense, because I know time has been fast spent to dwell so much in the whole thing. But the first thing you must have in mind is, don't live in the world of your ideas. Go out there and find out what people are looking for. And you might realize that maybe you might need to drop 90% of the things that you actually have and polish your 10 to service them. Because when people see what they're looking for, they find it more relevant and they find it more valuable than when you put together something that is brilliant and fantastic and you're trying to force it on them. It might not be so much of value.
Fantastic. So value is what the market is yearning for, not necessarily what it is that you think that the market would value, but what the market is yearning for. Thank you so much for just sharing that with us. That was so succinct. So my next question to you, Coach Dapo, is the digital age offers aspiring entrepreneurs unprecedented access to technology and education. How can these resources be effectively utilized to overcome challenges and launch successful venture? In this context, what are like the essential mental skills or unique strength that every entrepreneur needs to focus on developing?
Okay, there is something I call it's somewhat similar to the first question, but this is now breaking it down into what kind of skills are relevant. When you have what I call the value triangle, which is where you get to analyze the entrepreneur's journey. And the value triangle has three sides. First, you have what you call the value development or value creation. Next, you have the value communication. And the third part is the value exchange. In the place of value development, that is the first part that I answered in the first question, which is understanding what people want and putting together the right solution for it. Now, in deconstructing that alone, there are so many tech-relevant tools that you can adopt. And there are also lots of essential skills or meta skills, as you will call them, that you can also adopt. You must have a very curious mind. You must be very analytical in your thoughts. You must be critical in understanding what is the why behind the why that people want what they want. You must be very investigative. You don't just take things at surface level. You want to dig as deep as you can to know why are people looking for this particular thing, and not just assuming. So most of the skills that you would need are going more into investigative research in getting the kind of feedback that will be relevant. Now, speaking to the data guys in the room, I call it big data. You now bring it to the table and you now break it, deconstruct it and say, what exactly is it? Because back in the day, before technology held sway, we used to use questionnaires. But of course, you and I both know that when you share questionnaires to people, they always answer with what they want you to know, or they tell you what they want you to hear or what you feel like hearing. And to a large extent, most of the information or data is falsified. But now when you engage technology doesn't even have to wait until they respond to a question. Technology just gets into their world and investigates their life patterns and extracts the answers from there. So you know that answer is the actual truth. Now, in this case, the skills that you need will be the kind of skills that will support what technology will do for you in understanding the customer. That is at the value creation level or value development level. Now, at the value communication level, a lot of psychology is required because you also need to understand how the customer thinks, what triggers their needs, what triggers their, oh, yes, I want this, or, oh, no, I don't want, what triggers their buyer's journey. So when you communicate value, you want to use words that resonate with them. And that comes with a lot of psychology. So I'm just trying to break down the kind of skills that you'll be requiring. So it's not all tech skills, yet it's all tech skills. Because like AJ said, tech is not just for tech's sake. Tech is a tool. You don't get behind the car and just say, oh, I love the accelerator pedal. I love the brake pedal. Nobody does that. Just love the ride, that it moves and it moves fast. So tech, it's a tool. So you must also see yourself in the way that the tool is serving that purpose. That speaks to the value communication. Then the value exchange, which is what you refer to as selling that idea, making product to meet, making problem to meet solution so that they can have an exchange and trading in value, whether it's pounds and peas like HOV said and all that. By the time you go through that journey, that's just one cycle: creation, communication, exchange. But it's not one cycle. You need to repeat that cycle again and again in such a way that the next cycle should be an improvement on the previous cycle. Because from one cycle, you take feedback. Oh, what happened in this transaction? How did people react to this service? How did people react to this product? What can we do differently? That is where innovation comes in. That is where disruption comes in. So that as you continue to go around that circle, you are improving every now and then. So by the time you deconstruct all those meta skills, there are pretty much lots of them, but we don't have the time to break it down. But first, be investigative, be very curious in your mind, have a good, strong, psychology skills in understanding your customer. Yeah. Then at the point of selling, you must be compelling in making the value resonate with the customer and also understand a lot of business. Just like Jeff is doing well with the DPA, you don't just dwell in tech, but you understand the business of your crafts. You don't just do business in tech, but you must also do tech in business. So you now understand the business side of things to make you a very good entrepreneur.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that answer to that question. So my next question to you is, having a brilliant idea is just the first step. How can entrepreneurs identify ideas and entrepreneurial roles and find the right people to collaborate with in, either building the service or building a product? Because as an individual, you might not have all the skill sets or competencies to be able to create a service or a product. So how would you identify the right people to collaborate with or partner with when you're creating a product or a service as an entrepreneur?
Okay. First, let me talk about the previous question I answered, which is finding the problem first. Because here you said having a brilliant idea is the first step. I don't think having a brilliant idea is the first step.
Okay.
Having an understanding of the problem or the need is the first step. And that also helps you know the kind of talent you are looking for. So you don't just invest so much in filling your office space or studio office, whatever it is, with talent, only to realize that your overhead is hemorrhaging. Have a clear understanding of the problem first. Once you understand what the problem is, that also helps you to know what is the immediate talent that you need. You might want 10 talents, but maybe you just need one right now to move to the next phase. Because you also need to look at your bottom line. Do you have the means to hire all the skills or talents that you need? Not particularly as a startup, but you look at what is that essential talent that you need. And guess what? Technology has done the heavy lifting. Before you go hiring a personnel, there is actually going to be a solution available online. Virtual assistant, copywriting, whatever skill it is, there will be a skill vendor of some sort or an automated tech-driven tool that provides that solution that you're looking for, that you can jump on as your low-hanging fruit to give you the stability that you need to deliver on that solution for the problem. Now, as you do that and as you grow, then you can now afford a resident talent. It is then that you can now engage. In fact, you use technology as well. Who are the top talents in the market? Where are the tech hubs that are available? Who can I talk to? And all that. And because the tech space is also a very nuclear space, everybody knows everybody. When you get to that stage where you have your money that you want to hire a talent, you can always plug into a tech community. And immediately you get answers of those that are relevant, that can help you deliver what you want. And always keep your eyes on the original why, which is, what is the problem? The objective is not to build an office full of people, but the objective is to solve people's problems out there. Just wanted to put that in perspective.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So my next question to you is, what role does education play in equipping individuals with the skill sets, the mindsets necessary to succeed as an entrepreneur and within the complexities of the digital economy? What's the role of education, in that?
I don't know if it's a sarcastic question, because both guys have answered that question. If you want to remain in the cave, ignore education. Because what we learned is that education in itself is dynamic. We're chasing a movie target every day. I talked about the triangle. I mentioned the fact that it's not just one round. You go round the process every now and then. And what you do in this transaction will always be different from what you did in the previous transaction, because every process is a learning. And just like Joby made the example of the Apple Watch that uses the gyroscope or whatever technology to determine if you fall, you need to trigger an SOS. And by the time you say, okay, yes, indeed I fell, but it doesn't require an SOS, that feedback is education. Now, as an entrepreneur, you can't afford to do business with common sense. That is the number one problem of an entrepreneur. Assuming that the basic level education that brought you thus far is what you need to run a business. In fact, that's fool's paradise. Einstein said it. You can't solve a problem with the same thinking that brought you to that problem. Education is dynamic. You heard it from the two guys on the panel. These guys are students in your schools. That what they thought they knew about what they were going into, by the time they started, they realized that this is not what they thought they knew. And that is the impact of education. Education will always open your mind to new levels of approach, and it is infinite. Knowledge never ends. And it's not just about being a knowledge junkie that just takes in information. You have to process that information. That is understanding. You have to apply that information. That is relevance. That is wisdom. So it is a continuous process. And I believe you guys are doing a fantastic job offering people the opportunity to learn, unlearn, relearn every now and then. So any opportunity for education at any point is what anybody should jump at, like yesterday.
Fantastic. So my next question to you now is, in today's digital landscape, sustainability has become a crucial consideration for businesses. How can entrepreneurs ensure that their ventures not only experience growth, but also maintain a long-term viability and contributes positively to society?
Okay, I'll go back to that value triangle. You have to keep your ears to the ground. Never settle, never get complacent, and never think you have arrived. Because there is always, like they say, the biggest room in the world is a room for what? Improvement. No matter how perfect a service delivery is, if you critically look at it, there will always be something you can tweak. There will always be something you can improve. And that's where feedback comes in. A business that ignores feedback is a business that cannot be sustained. So if you're talking about sustainability, you must eat feedback for breakfast every now and then. Whether it's positive feedback, whether it's negative feedback, you must always understand, what do you think about this? What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? What do you think we're going to improve about it? And oftentimes, customers are not really your best articulate source of information. They might not break it down in a way that you will understand. It is now your job, now part of those meta skills that you asked me, to be able to take all those things that they say, how be it pedestrian, how be it banal, to interpret it into feedback that you can go back to your drawing board to tweak or rework. And that's what births disruptive companies. That's what births innovative companies. That you just look at your complete business model, you strip it there, and you just you flip it on its head and say, you know what? People want this. But people really are not looking to get this by going through this road. This is what they want. So maybe if you can go through another road, they would prefer to get this. Where you begin to analyze things brutally and all that. That is your journey to being relevant every moment, because you are not just targeting a generation. That generation will fade out. Now we have Gen Alpha in the kitchen. They are cooking up now. They will chase Gen Zs out of the market. We thought we've seen the shock from Gen Zs. Wait until you see the alphas coming on board. You have to be ready for them. You have to understand their interests, their behaviors. So it's a feedback-driven program. Any sustainable program is a feedback-driven program. So always look at, what can we do differently? Any company or any business that ignores feedback will die. BlackBerry, Nokia is still alive. No, you get what I'm trying to make. Blockbuster. Now everybody's talking Netflix. Now, Netflix is not the only thing. I mean, you've got so many other streaming platforms now. But you have to look at it. Look at the hospitality industry. As much as you have upscale 3-star, 5-star hotels, you've got Airbnb that is also taking a healthy share of the pie. Look at electronic vehicles, Tesla, and the likes of them. It is based on feedback, continuous feedback, that make you keep thinking, what can we do differently to be relevant in today's age, tomorrow's age, and beyond?
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Coach Dapo. Thank you. I think this will be our last question for you tonight, so that we're able to just take the questions that we've received in the chat from our audience. The question says many aspiring entrepreneurs have great ideas, but securing funding often feels like a brick wall. Investors seem to prioritize who over what. So how can entrepreneurs develop themselves to become an attractive candidate for investment and turn business ideas to reality? So how can entrepreneurs develop themselves in a way that they would be attractive to investors to want to invest in them or invest in their business ideas and things like that?
Okay. There's a method to the madness. I admit the fact that people buy more into who than into what. And oftentimes when you go shop for funds, that might be a cutoff. So that immediately triggers the need for building a personal brand. There are 3 levels of brands. You've got the personal brand, you've got the product brand, and you've got the corporate brand. Now, personal brand is at that individual level where you begin to build yourself into a household name that people love. And this is not just about going looking for fancy colors and lovely logos and silhouette pictures. That's not what personal brand is. Personal brand speaks to your journey that has delivered proof of results. If you find in a situation whereby you are shopping for funds and you are not getting the traction that you want, go back into the kitchen and solve problems. Get proofs, get social proof, get results, get a massive portfolio of things that you've done. Nobody argues with results. It's that simple. So the more you build that, the more your name becomes synonymous with that solution that you are peddling. And it is now based on the backdrop of the portfolio of solutions that you built that have given your personal brand some stature when the time arises. And of course, you don't just jump at the money that you're looking for. You go organically, you grow organically. You start with your MVP. What is your minimum viable product that you can build to prove that at least you can deliver on this thing? Start with that. What is it that is your low-hanging fruit that is within your means? Use that to solve problems. So by the time you're now going to shop for the big ticket, by the time you represent yourself before the board or before the investor, whoever it is, let them see you and your army of problems you've solved. Then they begin to listen to you. So because you are going back to them saying, you know what, I did this, now I want to do this. But if you go to them saying, hey, I'm John Doe, what the hell is John Doe? But if you come to the table that this is my brand and my brand is associated with this solution, that solution, this solution, that solution, there are things that even without money, you will have to invest yourself doing at the backwoods before you come to the showroom. It is inevitable. So it is when you now have that results, people cannot argue with results. Somehow, some way, someone will say, this guy has got something because, we can see what he has. So even if we can just invest a bit of this in him, then we can tell that this will go places. I hope I've been able to help in that regard.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
Thank you for joining us on the Career Growth Sessions podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, rate, and leave a review. Feel free to reach out to us on social media with your thoughts or suggestions for future episodes. But remember, this episode is brought to you by Destiny Education, a career and higher education advisory agency. They offer bachelor's, master's, and doctoral degree programs in various fields 100% online through their partner accredited American universities, virtual campuses. Now, you can also access a grant that covers up to 90% of your tuition. To get started, log on to destinyedu.com and sign up. A career advisor will connect with you in less than 24 hours to give you more information. You can also send an email to advisors@destinyedu.com and begin your journey. Until next time, keep learning and growing.